Hello, ladies. I hope that your day is going well and struggle love free. In this video, I want to talk about the Hunger Games, escaping the desire to be in a relationship at all costs. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time that I upload a new video. Validation is something that we can seek out. It can have a varying level or degree of significance to us, and it may vary from whom we seek validation. Validation is wanting to have recognition for our opinions or our feelings. We want an affirmation or recognition that our feelings, that our opinions matter, that they are worthwhile, that they have significance. And it also could be that we ourselves are wanting validation, that we are worthy of love, that we are worth being in a relationship with, that we matter to other people. It's not problematic to want validation. What becomes problematic is when we seek out validation from those who will not ever provide it, or when we compromise ourselves in order to gain what we perceive to be validation from someone romantically. So we are looking for love, but it's all the wrong places. We are looking for love, looking for validation from a man who will not ever provide that. He does not either have the capacity or he is not willing to give us validation. And if we don't have a strong sense of ourselves, if we don't know our worth, if we don't recognize our value, then we can find ourselves doing any number of things and compromising ourselves, our dignity, respect for ourselves, compromising our finances, our health, our wellness, our stability, peace, all in the name of validation. And so it's like we are participating in a Hunger Games variation where we are out here in a state of constantly seeking this validation and wanting this from a man who cannot provide it. And this can go on for months, it can go on for years in some cases. There's even cases where women have been in a relationship where she's seeking validation and seeking affirmation and seeking to be chosen by a man after decades. It's so very important that we not get sucked into that matrix. It's very important that if we do not feel that we have value, if we don't know our worth, that we begin a process of healing so that we can get to a place where we recognize our worth, we recognize our value, and we don't enter into relationships that are non reciprocal, that are dysfunctional, that may be toxic, may bring trauma or drama, where we're never going to get the validation that we are ultimately wanting. It is never going to transpire. It's just not going to happen. If we've been conditioned over a long period of time to be male centric, perspective, if we are taught to engage in struggle love, to be the ride or die, to be Barbara the Builder, to have a pick me spirit, to accept any piece of a man, to say that we have a man, if we are willing to be the come up woman or the fallback woman or the cleanup woman or a variation of any of those, the side chick, the friend with benefits, and we are not recognizing our worth. We're not recognizing our value. And what's happening is we're compromising ourselves. And if a man has an expectation that we should be with him, where we're never ultimately having reciprocity, where it's not mutual love, mutual support, mutual loyalty, mutual faithfulness, well, we're being exploited. But unfortunately, we have engaged in this dynamic. We are engaging in this dynamic because we have this great hunger, this thirst to receive a validation because we don't feel like we're enough all by ourselves. We don't feel like we've already arrived in terms of recognizing our worth and recognizing our value and knowing that we deserve to be, if we're going to be in a relationship, to be in a healthy, functional relationship. So we can greatly be taken advantage of, but it's important for us to recognize before we even enter into a relationship, are we in a good space to even think about entering into a relationship. Because if we're not, then that is how we can engage in these very problematic, detrimental struggle of relationships. Because we're not recognizing what we're willing to forego simply to be in a relationship. See, when a man is automatically telling us from the beginning that he only wants to do 50-50, when he's telling us from the beginning that he just wants a friend with benefits, when he's asking us to rescue him from the very beginning, when he's telling us that he wants wife benefits at girlfriend pricing, then we are being told and it's being communicated to us from the very beginning that this man is not someone who is going to meet what our standard should be. He is not going to meet the standard, the criteria, and what should be the requirement for being in a relationship. Because if we're going to be in a relationship, it should be with someone who sees our worth and recognizes our value, willing to exert the effort and the time and the commitment for a relationship of quality, not a great value, low budget relationship. A relationship that's going to bring us trauma and drama, where we have to engage in cognitive dissonance. We have to overlook so many different things and so many red flags and go through so much struggle and so much drama simply to say we have a relationship. And we have to try to pretend that this is something functional when it's really not. To pretend that this relationship is a prize when it's really not. It's not an asset. It's really a liability. It's really a burden. It's not a blessing. It's a burden. And that's one thing that we also have to be mindful of if we are in a good space. If we are reaching our goals and we have a vision and we have objectives and we have a career that's moving along at a great pace and we have different goals that we are reaching for and we are achieving, that we not allow ourselves to be detoured, go those standards and those boundaries and that criteria and make excuses and allow a relationship to begin that really doesn't meet the standard. It's really not good enough in terms of what's being offered to us, then we can quickly begin to detour and go off of track in terms of what we want our life to look like and what we are trying to achieve, because we are becoming acclimated to and we have acquiesced to a relationship that doesn't meet the standard. And that is why before we enter into a relationship, those standards should already be firmly in place so that as soon as we see a red flag, we immediately stop. We cease moving forward. We know this is not a relationship worthy of us entering into. So that's why we want to be in a space where we know our worth, where our esteem is such that we don't feel like we have to acquiesce just to receive validation. Not only is not going to validate us, but it's in all likelihood going to make us feel worse about ourselves because of all the stress or the trauma that we are going to be experiencing via this relationship or the situationship. So ultimately is going to be a situation where there's going to be extra drama in our life that we didn't have before. The little validation we may receive is not going to outweigh the drama that comes with the relationship. So if we know who we are, if we know that God has purpose for us, we can look through a lens of when we begin to get in a relationship, what are we really looking for? Does this man have the same core values? Does he have goals? Does he have objectives? Is he mutually going to be putting effort into this relationship? Going to be faithful just the way he expects us to be, or loyal the way he expects us to be? Is he going to be expecting us to go 50-50? Is he expecting financial assistance from us? Is he expecting that it's okay for him to cheat, but not us? What is he expecting before that? Primarily, what do we expect from a relationship and what will we accept? What is our boundary? Where do we draw the line? We can get validation from various sources. We're already validated by God in that he has created us and put purpose in us. We can get validation from friends, from our family, certainly through our job when we're excelling. We are seeking it to such a strong degree that we're willing to compromise ourselves and we're willing to settle. The dating down, and not just dating down financially, but dating down in terms of acquiescing expectations and the standard. And we're foregoing what was previously a criteria. So we're making excuses for it. And when this man presents different behaviors or shows characteristics that we know are not what we're looking for, we overlook it when what we really should be is saying, because I know I don't want this, I'm just going to stick to what my standards are. Because dating is really fact finding. We are doing an assessment, we're doing an evaluation. It shouldn't be a given when we're first meeting a man and possibly thinking about dating him that we know for sure that this is going to work. We're just analyzing, we're assessing. And if we keep the physical intimacy out of it, then that will definitely ensure that we're not getting soul ties created. We're not getting entangled in something that now is going to be difficult to get out of. We can have that clear mind. It's important to use our discernment. We're doing the fact finding and the data gathering. We can make a determination whether this is a man who meets our criteria. And if he doesn't, we can categorize him as either a friend, he might just be an acquaintance. We may not even continue communicating, but certainly we know that it's not going to be an ideal match for us. And that's okay, because everyone would not be an ideal match. But what we don't want to do is that we don't want to forego our criteria and try to make a relationship work simply so that we can say, hey, I'm in a relationship, and in the validation to the extreme to where we compromise ourselves, to where we are searching for something that we will never find because this man that we are looking at doesn't meet the criteria for what will really help us to have a successful, healthy, functional relationship. And that's what we should have an expectation of. We have to forego this teaching, this conditioning from the past that says that we should just seek out any man or participate in the Pick Me Olympics. There's no reason for us to for us to accept that as a standard for ourselves. We can cast that off. We can forego that. We can end the cycle of the settling for any piece of a relationship. Hey, I have a relationship, as if we're going to get some kind of blue ribbon for that. It's not a prize. It's not a prize to be in a relationship that's non-reciprocal, that's not healthy, that is not going to involve loyalty, fidelity on the side of both parties, faithfulness, where two people are not pouring into the relationship. It's simply us. We're giving very little in return. And there's even an entitlement in some cases that's just how it should be. And we should just be happy to have a man. Well, we don't have to settle for that. And that's why if we are recognizing our worth and recognizing our value and understanding that we don't have to settle, we don't have to acquiesce to that low standard, that we can be happily single, or we can take our time to do the data analysis, to see if a man is a good match for us, to see if he is someone that we should be aligning with in a relationship, if he is going to be a man that God would have for us to be involved in a relationship with, to determine if he is someone who is going to enhance our life or detract from our life, who's going to be a benefit versus a liability. So whether we've been taught this by the media or whether it's family, friends, peers, culturally, if we have been taught that we should be settling, dating down, having a pick-me spirit, participating in struggle love, we don't have to continue in that vein. We do not have to accept that as a standard for our lives. And better yet, that we not continue to replicate that mindset, that mentality, that paradigm, and that construct that says that we ever have to settle for relationships. We can already know that we have affirmation, that we have recognition, that our feelings are valid, that our opinions are valid, and that we have worth and value. Let me know what you think in the comments beneath the video. As always, be blessed, continue to level up, stay far away from the struggle matrix, because you deserve better.